Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Auston, I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. Today we will be joined by NHL.com's Mike Zeisberger, size up Capitals and Maple Leafs later in the week. Get his theories on Tom Wilson. But Capitals have won 4 in a row now, Karl. Tom Wilson, one of the most dominant players in the NHL right now. 4 goals in 6 games, career high in goals, career high in points, 50 points in a season. Your thoughts on Tom Wilson, the offensive maniac?
Yeah, no kidding. It's cool to see. He seems to be playing, with just the right amount of edge to be effective physically. At the same time, putting his natural skill that he has, adding that in as well. So it's pretty great to see. He's been just a nose for the net. You see him standing in front of the net a bunch right now and using his size and all that. So I think he's playing kind of a perfectly balanced game, with everything that he needs to do, and he's getting rewarded for it right now, and the team's heating up too. So it's, if you have one of your best players like that being successful and doing all those little things, then the team seems to have success. So that's what I've seen. I've been actually watching more of the games the last week and a half than I have all season. So it's been nice to see what he's been doing.
Yeah, you picked the right time to start watching, and he's just a matchup nightmare out there. I'm like, with his size and the ability to, you mentioned the nose for the net, he can create space for line mates, and if he's staying on the right side of that line, which he has for the last couple of years, he hasn't done anything that's been suspension worthy all season, certainly, but it's impressed me to see what he's done offensively, but also kind of walking away from Trent Frederick tried to almost goad him into an extra minor penalty the other night, and he wouldn't take that. It looks like consciously he's making decisions on the ice. It's like, I am needed more on the ice than I need to be the enforcer in the penalty box role, and this team is so much better for that.
Exactly. I'm curious if there was a conversation had, with the staff and him, just reminding him how important he is to the team, because that's like what we always say during games. It's like, oh, that's a bad trade-off, or whatever. If you get thrown in the box for a roughing with someone who plays 10 minutes a night versus someone who plays 20 minutes a night, right? You're always looking for to try and goat somebody into to get, to go in the box with you for a little bit extra. But it's one of the things that's, I don't know, maybe it's easier said than done, but as a forward, you just go to the front of the net, stuff happens when you're there. I think another good example of that is Chris Kreider. He's a great player and he can skate, but he goes to the front of the net and he tips pucks in all over the place. He's getting backdoor tap-ins, and he creates space for himself because he's a big body. Anders Lee, same thing. Those guys just stand in front of the net. When you have a 6'4", 220-pound frame, why wouldn't you just go there and sniff pucks out? So he's doing the right things, and that's it's the dual threat top line, right? You need to have 2 lines that can produce, and if they can produce in different ways, then like you said, it is a matchup nightmare. I would hate playing against a line like that. The New York Islanders' 4th line was kind of like that, Matt Martin running around, Cal Clutterbuck running around, and Cizikas kind of bringing that whole thing together. It was that line starting every single game in the playoff series we had against them. And it was a nightmare. Me and Carly would go out there every game and I'd just be like, oh, I hope we win this face off, because I know otherwise it's getting rammed down my throat and I'm getting crushed first 10 seconds of the game. So yeah, you need to find where you can kind of gang up on a team. And right now it's whatever Tom Wilson can do.
Before we bring in Mike Zeisberger, what have you noticed differently on this team? I know they had the players-only meeting, and I'm sure that has some factor, but from those 2 losses, Carolina and Minnesota, to the way this team has played since then, what have you noticed different, better in this team?
Well, I've seen jump. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I haven't watched every single game this year, but I was in Pittsburgh for the game against the Penguins, and they had jump. They had opportunities. They were solid in the offensive zone, just creating as much as possible. And that was really nice to see, because that's, especially in the playoffs, you got to invest. You got to shots from everywhere, coming back over top, tracking back and making sure that you try and outman the other team on the back check. And that's what they seem to be doing. And so that's those are things that happen from closed door meetings, players only meetings. You talk about some of those little details, and then guys just, I guess they take on that responsibility a little bit more. They realize that everybody's got to do their job, otherwise we're not good. And they're doing that now, from what I've seen. And like you've seen probably a better progression throughout the season than I have, but at least the last couple games, it seems like there's been a lot more energy, more creation in the offensive zone.
Yeah, I mean, Pierre Laviolette, I remember a decade ago, said every meeting is a closed door meeting because no one leaves the door open, and that was always kind of his joke. But like these meetings matter, right? Like among players like that, you could actually get some value out of players only meetings, right?
Oh, for sure. It's the timing of those meetings. You don't want to have one after 2 bad games or 3 bad games, but you also don't want to wait too long to have it after 7 bad games, and then next thing you know, you're out of the race or you're in trouble. So yeah, timing had to be right. But I think for the most part, everybody that watches hockey and saw some of the games, even though some of them were wins, the hockey wasn't a satisfying win, sure. Right? And that's when you need to, leadership stepped in, or maybe the coaches relayed a message that, look, this is what we're seeing on the video, and it doesn't look good compared to what we are used to seeing. Let's maybe think about it. And so yeah, those are all, they're, a little bit awkward, to be honest, at times, those meetings, because none of the guys are really great public speakers. Everyone kind of likes to listen to the coaches talk and instead of having to talk. But once somebody kind of pipes up and then it starts flowing, they turn into something special. And you hope that one guy can say something that triggers, something for the rest of the team.
And a good time to be playing good hockey for this team. Long road trip coming up at Toronto, at Montreal, at Colorado, at Vegas, at Arizona, before playing the Leafs back at home. And speaking of the Maple Leafs, next up on All's Caps, we're joined by NHL.com's Mike Zeisberger. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and pleased to be joined by a very good friend of mine, NHL.com's Mike Zeisberger. Mike, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Like I said in the preamble before the show, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Well, we appreciate it, and appreciate you listening. And I owe Mike a lot for my career. He's always been supportive of every next job I've gotten. He was a big help on the book. So I owe Mike a lot. So I hope, Karl, you don't grill him too much on your stupid questions later.
We all learn from our mistakes, Karl. No, we can. It's been my pleasure, and he's done the same for me. So, Mutual Admiration Society. Thank you, Steve.
It is. Speaking of Mutual Admiration Society, Karl and I were just glowing about Tom Wilson, and it reminds me of the Tom Wilson of all people overtime call from that Leafs Cap series a few years ago. and I know you were there for that game and have seen Tom Wilson. I'm curious your thoughts from kind of 10,000 feet. Obviously, Tom Wilson's hometown in Toronto, of kind of how you've seen Tom Wilson evolve as a player over the past several years.
Well, the interesting thing for me about Tom Wilson is that obviously he's a polarizing player. He's one of those guys like a Brad Marchand, and don't get me wrong with this, they don't play the same way.
Right.
But they like to play in that gray area. And the respective coaches, whether it's Cassidy in Boston, or obviously Lavi in Washington, they know how effective their guys are when they play in those gray areas. You just don't want them slipping over it at the worst times. And we've seen that from Tom in the past. But what we've also seen is that he can be one of the more effective players in the National Hockey League, and especially in the playoffs, where we all know, like, every inch of ice is harder to grab. There's less movement. It's more of a north-south game. And you remember when the Capitals gave him that contract extension, there were a lot of people out there in the social media world, oh, what are they doing? They're giving this guy all this cash. He's not like the pure skill player. Maybe not, but this guy's got more skill than people give him credit for. He knows what his job is. And I really think that this is a case where there's 31 teams in the National Hockey League that bitch about Tom Wilson, and 31 teams that want Tom Wilson. So that's the bottom line. And I really do think that, once the playoffs come and he can toe the line, he can be one of the most effective players. And let's face it, I mean, people can bitch and whine about Tom Wilson all they want, but I've seen close up and personal, a guy like Nazem Kadri has been suspended 3 times in the last 4 playoff years. And there you go again with guys that can be irritating, can be effective, but you don't want to step over the line. And I think that for the most part, Tom has understood that. Every now and then, there's a little slip up.
It's a tough job because nobody wants to be known as, that rat or that guy. And so it's hard. Like, pretty much anybody can go out there and poke guys and try and run around and be annoying out there, but not everybody wants to, right? So you need a special person that can go out there and have a little bit of an attitude. And it's like, as the season goes on, it's like the meter is slowly filling up of hatred, right? It gets fuller and fuller and fuller until the playoff time comes. And then all you're hoping for as like a Tom or a Brad or a Kadri, it's I need somebody to come after me because they hate me so much. Yeah, that's all I want. We just want one power play because that can change things. So it's a very hard role, and to be able to tiptoe around just like some of those guys do. I mean, I could never do it as hard as I would want to annoy guys and stuff like that.
That's not your game.
It's not for me. Yeah, I couldn't do it. So it's pretty impressive, the guys that can.
And the difference between Kadri and Marchand on the one hand, one of the differences, and Tom Wilson on the other, is just the physical size. And he creates room for whatever line he's on, whether he's playing with Backstrom or Ovechkin or whoever, because lines get shuffled all the time. I'm not a big believer in all this, this line is entrenched, because all the great coaches, they'll pull the plugs on lines within 10 minutes of the game if a line's not going. But whoever Tom Wilson plays with, in terms of the skilled players, he creates room for them. And let's face it, you go into if you're a defenseman, and Karl, you can speak to this, but if you're going into a corner with Tom Wilson, you're checking the rearview mirror big time because you know what's coming in at you.
Oh yeah, and a lot of times the guys, like, it's just not worth it getting hit. Let's just let that person take the puck. There's some guys that know they don't want to get embarrassed by pulling up and letting them go in first, but for the most part, I mean, guys are just like, nah, that's, you go ahead and I'll try and check you after. But you know what? And this may seem like a stupid thing, but it's the truth, is that when there's somebody that's annoying out there on the ice, guys are looking for something to chirp them about, and it will go like, who are you, or you're a plug, you're a fourth liner. Have you even played today? You're ugly. Like, things like those are things that guys would want to chirp you about. What do you chirp Tom about? He's on the first line. He's tough as nails. He's a good looking guy. Went to the All-Star game. Like, the guy's.
Yeah. And if they don't like it, they can kiss his ring.
Yeah. The guy, he's unchirpable. Like, he's just he's a unicorn, and it's right now at least. So it's, I don't know. He's just in a really good position. But I would like to say, speaking of unicorns, I think there's a bit of a unicorn on the Leafs as well, which I'm really excited to see play in person, and that's Matthews. Like, he's just like 50 goals in 50 games.
Yep.
Right now, that's insane. Like, what are you seeing out of this guy right now? Because every time I look at the score sheet, he's there. He is again. It's just nuts.
Well, to me, he's completed his game from this standpoint. Like, I've watched him obviously since he was a rookie. You kind of raise the bar of expectations when you score 4 goals in your first National Hockey League game. That kind of raises it like way up. Let's put a parameter on this when we start this. All this is great now, and this is something that Auston himself knows. Okay, we are talking about a Toronto Maple Leafs franchise that has not. The last time they won a playoff series, there was no salary cap. And we were using the center ice red line for 2-line passes. Do you remember that, Karl?
Oh, yeah. I was a Leafs fan growing up. So
that's how long it's been. Okay, yeah. 2004, Battle of Ontario. So, as great as these regular season accomplishments are, and they are, don't get me wrong. I mean, this guy just set a record for a franchise that's over 100 years old for most goals in a season. 50 goals in 50 games, okay? If I have enough beads left on my abacus, and everybody can go to Wikipedia and find out what that means, those of us old enough will know. But if I have enough beads over there, there's got to be 10 people in history, if that have had 50 goals in 50 games. Now, granted, it wasn't from the start of the season, but still, we're talking about a chunk in the same National Hockey League season. So that is impressive. But at the same time, I mean, this core has had a chance over and over again to, starting out with the Caps, then back-to-back Game 7s against the Bruins, a deciding Game 5 against Columbus, and a Game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens, and they've lost every time. And so it's fascinating, like even talking to guys like Darryl Sittler and Doug Gilmour and some of the illustrious greats of the Leafs from past years. And they all say, I mean, they give all the credit in the world what Auston is doing. But, and look at, it was the same with Ovi's legacy. Okay. They talked about a cup. These Leafs are talking about just winning a playoff series. Okay. But you do create your legacy or add to your legacy in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's not, again, not to take away what he's doing now, but it was the case at the beginning of the season, and it's the case now, is that we're not talking about carrying a series, but there have been enough there's been 4 deciding games, 3 Game 7s and a Game 5. And no matter how many goals you get in the regular season, and you know this for a fact, Karl, it's when the season is on the line, you got to answer the big moments. And that is something, and again, not to take away from what he's done, but that is the way that this market is going to look at him. If they're one and done again, the natives are going to be rested.
Has he been bad in those games, in those elimination games? I don't know the details enough, because there's other guys on that team too that I know have been not that great, right? Yes. And we look back to the year that the Caps won, like there was Ovi and Kuzi who were lights out. Holtz was lights out. I'm not saying that they were bad in years before, but they were at a whole nother level, right? So what if McDavid is lights out? If Draisaitl's not good and Hyman's not good, it doesn't matter, right? So do you remember, like, was he not there in those elimination games?
It hasn't been that he's been bad, because he has not.
Yeah.
What he hasn't been is noticeable.
Gotcha.
And that's where, so the first year against Boston, and I got to get my years right now, I'm going to say
2018.
2018, they were leading going into the third period of Game 7. So they had a chance and they lost. The next year, they were up 3-2 in the series going home. So they could have, ended the series there. And to a man, they say, we blew a great chance because they lost in Game 7. They lost Game 6 at home and then Game 7. Against Columbus, the whole team was flat. And against Montreal, the whole team was flat in Game 7 too, but they had a 3-1 lead. Auston scored 1 goal against the Montreal Canadiens. He was coming off a wrist injury, which he ended up having surgery on. And, when you shoot the way that he does, a wonky wrist is going to have an effect on it. Marner scored 0 goals. And
you can't have that.
I scratched my head because all of a sudden Marner became a scapegoat in this town, and everything that was wrong with the Leafs never winning was Mitch Marner's fault, which I just have thought is a crock. I've written about it. I've said it on social media. I think this kid is a wonderful, talented kid. You got to take him for what he is. He's not going to be Tom Wilson. I don't think you want him to try to play like Tom Wilson. And he's a kid from Toronto who actually wants to play the Leafs. And look, guys, I mean, judging by my hairline and the color of my whiskers here, okay, this is not my first rodeo. There was a time where local guys didn't want to play for the Leafs. They didn't want to be in the spotlight and things of that nature. That has totally changed around, led by Mitch Marner, who has been a Leaf fan ever since he grew up, since he was a kid, has always wanted to wear the blue and white. And yet the way that fans blame everything on him, I just thought that was a little head scratching. So I think both of these guys together, here's the thing when we look at it, Karl. When I talk about this team not winning a playoff series and the core of it, we're talking Morgan Rielly, Nylander, Matthews, Marner. So you've got your core guys have been together for that time and haven't been able to get over the hump. And that's not, not one of them is to blame. It's just that when the moment has been there, they haven't been able to grasp it.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's going to be like same thing with the Caps. Like I had always said this to all my friends, all my family. I'm like, if we get out of the second round, I will guarantee a Stanley Cup victory, 100%. And then I think I was on vacation because we didn't make the playoffs in Montreal when I was watching that game and Kuzi scored that goal. I turned to my wife right away. I said, they're winning. It's done. Like 100%. They played Tampa next. I would have bet the house on it that they were going to beat Tampa. And then sure enough, they went and did it. So I'm wondering if maybe that's the thing with the Leafs. It's like, it just clicks, we're like, holy smokes, we've climbed the mountain now. We're going to do this. But I just want to say, because I know we're probably going to have to move on to the next segment, but for anybody, one of my favorite things about Matthews now, and for anybody who listens to this podcast before the game, is I love his ability to win stick battles. He is so good at finding the puck in tight, in battles. I like to think that that's what I was pretty good at playing, and he would always get it. And I'm like, how the heck is this guy just always just a step ahead of me, and with way better hands, he's able to just finagle it out of the corner. So I just like for people to pay attention to that, because it's a pretty unique skill.
2 quick points on that real quick. First of all, I think that he's always been underrated as a defensive player, but I think right now he's one of the best defensive players in the league. When you watch him haul his butt down the ice to the other end, and to your point, a lot of times that stick work happens on the back check, which starts the rush going the other way. Number 2, one of the biggest things I think about Auston, and I've talked to Eric Lindros about this before because of his size. I've always thought with this guy's skating ability, if he puts his head down and goes to the net, even outside the other team's blue line, I mean, there's only certain ways that you can stop him, and most of them are against the rules.
Yeah.
So I see so much more of that. He's in dirty areas. He's around the net. He's putting his head down and going to the net instead of trying, he's still got the shot like Ovi from the faceoff circle and like Stamkos, but he's not relying on that yet anymore. He's moving more, and he's using his body size. And that is the biggest thing that I've noticed about him is the realization that, you know what, I'm a damn good player. I can be an even better player because there are things I can do that physically other teams cannot do anything to stop me within the rules.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's true.
And to me, the Maple Leafs now look like your guys' Caps teams, Karl, where like all those years where it's like, you got to show it. The regular season's fun, but you got to show it. And the question is, like, can they finally break through? But more importantly, first up, Karl's Stupid Questions, next up on All's Caps. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alsner and NHL.com's Mike Zeisberger. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. Plenty of Leafs talk. Great talk about Auston Matthews. Next up on All's Caps later this week, we're going to have from the Hershey Bears, Brian Helmer on the show. Talk a little about the Hershey Bears and his time playing with Karl. But first now, Karl's favorite portion of the show, Karl's Stupid Questions.
Yes, very excited about this one. Got a couple good questions in here. All right, Mike. First one, if you need some time to think about this, then take your time and we can come back to it. But I don't need to brief you because we've already established that you know exactly how this works. First question, though, is there a childish thing that you do that you still enjoy? I will give you an example that I still love playing in the sand. Like my kids like to go to the beach and they're playing in the sand and I'm enjoying it just as much as they are. Love building sand castles and all that stuff. So that would be the childish thing that I enjoy still, and that I take part in whenever I can.
Well, this is a trick question because I could say from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed, as Wino knows. But no, there's. I'm just trying to think what exactly. I mean, I still. I still play mini sticks in the basement with my cousin's kids.
Yes.
And there's one rule with mini sticks, okay? I don't incite the goonery, okay?
Okay.
But the first hack at the old man's shins here, and that's it. I mean, all bets are off, okay? So old-time hockey, but I would say that to me is one of the things that I enjoy the most, and screaming and no goal. And if I could play road hockey again, get all the guys gathering on the street, I'd do that too. Because the one thing I hated, and I don't know about you guys, is goal sucks. Guys, because there's no offside in road hockey. Guys that stand at the other end and you just flip the ball over everybody to them. They are always going to be known as goal sucks, okay? And that's my pet peeve. So there you go.
I agree with that. I'm seeing that in men's league right now. I'm like, I just shake my head every time I see someone out there. I'd be so mad if that was someone on my team that was just standing out there hanging us out to dry. So I agree. Okay, this next one. Can you think of what the best gift you've ever received?
Yeah, it was. I was trying to think of how old I would have been, like 11 or 12. I believe that's the right time frame. And I got a Mike Palmateer jersey, and not the crappy ones, not the stenciled ones. Okay, way before there was ever an Air Canada Centre / Scotiabank Arena, there was obviously Maple Leaf Gardens, and there weren't really specialty stores for jerseys and stuff. You'd get the printed ones. But there was a store in the Gardens called Doug Laurie Sports, and it would have all the stitching, everything. Like I remember the old purple LA Kings jerseys, and you'd walk into the store, the purple ones, and the crown was all stitched in and stuff like that. And my parents got me a Mike Palmateer jersey from there with the stitching and that. And who didn't play, I just mentioned road hockey, and I played a little ice hockey too. We won't get into that. Those goaltending exploits, but who didn't, like when somebody shot the ball into your glove when you're a goalie? Who didn't look at it and then just go Palmateer and just fling your hand up like that? So that I would say. And I mean, there's probably more sentimental gifts that I've gotten, but for that first rush, oh my God, you got me, and it's sewn on. It's not that printed stuff. So I would say that my Palmateer. My Mike Palmateer jersey, circa early 70s.
That's it. I mean, it's funny you say that with the stitching and stuff too, because that's how, whenever I would sign a jersey and someone would pass it to me and I would notice that it was, like a pro style jersey, had the fight strap and everything, it would always go through my mind this is the good stuff right here versus, like you said, the screened on or whatever. I'm just like, yeah, nothing's
third time in the wash and the logo would peel, remember?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I was actually just looking at getting new jerseys for our men's league team, and the guy emailed me back, says, do you want the the printed on, or do you want them stitched on? I'm like, is that even a question? There's no chance. We're obviously going stitched. It's it's one of the things, I guess, when you play. Okay, this will be interesting. I would like you to rate your top 3 favorite uniforms in the league, if you could.
Does he have to go present day?
Good question. Let's open it up. Yeah, let's open it up. Whatever you want. Top 3 overall.
6-way tie, every original 6 jersey.
Yes.
You know what? I'm not too far. I've always loved the Blackhawks jerseys. I've got to say, pretty much. I'm not trying to. Maybe it's because of my age or because of what I grew up with, but I just think that they're all 6 of those original 6 jerseys are awesome. I'm not talking about the alternates. I am not talking about that horrendous yellow Bruins thing with the crap peanut butter bear on the front of it. That is not what I'm talking about, people, okay? Yeah. I'm not talking about the Statue of Liberty on the front of the Rangers jerseys.
Right.
I'm talking about the normal ones. And I've had this question asked before, and it's like, oh, I love that black and gold Bruins one. And then you see the Red Wings come to town or see one of their home games where they're wearing red and white, and it's the most basic thing, and you're looking down from the press box and going like, man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm sitting on the fence, but those to me will always be all-timers, and they're as far as away from the Vancouver Canucks Flying V's, which are at the other end of the spectrum. But here's a trivia question for you, or believe it or not, real quick. Do you know that Kenny Albert, the award-winning broadcaster, grew up a Canucks fan, and one of his most prized possessions was the Canucks Flying V, the thing that looked like, well, somebody had been on hallucinogens and just threw a bunch of colors together. But Kenny Albert was a huge fan and is to this day of the Flying V Canucks jersey.
Really? One of the rare ones. That's for wild. Sure. And I mean, at the time, I remember being, so not that one, going to the black and yellow and orange or red, whatever that was.
Yeah.
The jersey. The flying skate.
Yeah, the flying skate. I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, these are just, kind of okay. And then when I see them wear them now, every now and then, I'm like, these are nice. Like for me, I got a soft spot for a black, like a majority black uniform. Mm-hmm. Like I love the Tampa dark jerseys. I love LA. I even like San Jose's. Like when you have a all black uniform, it just looks kind of mean. So I'd say that one would be the one that would sneak in for me, a little sentimental as well, but that would sneak into my top. But yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with just original basics. It's, it's not broken. They don't need to fix it. Just let it ride. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good answer. That was the right answer. So full points. Okay.
So that Wino, right answer.
Yeah.
Right answer.
Okay. So Wino helped me with this question, trying to hone it in a little bit.
No comment.
Only asked it once before. I'd like to know your opinion on the best breakfast sandwich vessel. So we have, I think, 4 choices.
4 choices now.
There's bread, there's English muffin, there's bagel, and then there's the biscuit.
It's got to be between bagel and bread. I'm not a big biscuit guy.
How about like a bagel belt at Tim Hortons?
Because he's a Canadian guy. I don't think biscuits are all that big up in like. I'd never had biscuits growing up.
You guys need to spend some more time in the southern U.S.
Yeah,
I used to. Yeah, I would say, you know what? I would say bread or bagel. The bread comes in when you're more those mornings that you're concentrating on the egg and the protein in there. Okay, you don't want, you don't want all that other stuff, that floury, whatever, biscuit, bagel, whatever. You don't want that interrupting. Okay, you want something to hold it in place.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's good enough. But you're there to eat the egg. You're there to eat the bacon or sausage, whatever. Okay. It's they're going to get, the bread's going to get the supporting actor thing. It's not going to get the main, and nobody will be slapped either. Okay.
Yeah.
But then if we go to biscuit, like you said, I've never been a biscuit person or that.
This is the American in me, I guess.
Yeah.
The bagel comes in when you are looking for an additional taste to the actual protein those mornings, and the bagel. And you can go anyway. I like sometimes all dressed, sesame seeds.
Yeah,
you've got it, but it just depends on. But biscuits are non-starters for me.
Oh, I know. You thought the biscuit was going to come in hot.
Wait till we have Americans on, and we'll ask that question again.
That's it for
sure.
But
you want to learn about hockey, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, because you invented the game, right?
No, but I think there are days where I think I was around when it was invented. So.
Okay, sticking with the breakfast theme here. When you eat eggs, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your egg order? How do you have them cooked for breakfast?
Over medium to over hard.
Nice.
You can't have it if it's too runny. That's where you have to have like the bread and stuff to wipe
absolutely.
It up. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you want a little bit of that, but you don't want the plate turning into a disaster area. So you want to keep the goo quotient down a little bit.
Yeah. That's amazing. My dad was always an over easy guy.
Oh, so yeah.
It's a little
watch out you don't get splashed when you cut in there.
Yeah, exactly. Suspect. Okay, so this is a little bit, I think this is a new one as well. Okay, if you could choose one person, let's go with living person right now, to have an exclusive with that would spill all the beans, would give you the full stories on every question that you have without cutting any corners, who would that be?
Oh man. Okay, go to the next question. I got to think about this one.
Okay, next question.
It's too important a question to.
All right, we'll go to the next question. who would be the person that you would like the exclusive with? They would spill all the beans. This is the last question, I got to go back to it. I'll give you some time. I'll tell you who came to my mind.
Okay.
Just off the top of my head, with you being in Toronto and stuff, is I would love to know some of the details from Mike Babcock, just with some of the stuff that's happened over the years, Mike Modano, Mitch Marner, what it was like in his time in Detroit, stuff like that, because I've heard a lot of rumors from guys before, and I'm sure there's other people that would be extremely interesting as well. But I'm just curious to get that side of it, because there's been a lot of interesting decisions over the years.
From a hockey standpoint, and look, I mean, I'd need more time. It's a great question, and something, this is a type of question that 3 hours after we finish taping this podcast, I'm going to be thinking and I would want to know, spill the beans on this off the top of my head. And it really is one of the guys I would want to talk to is Gerard Gallant and get the full, I mean, to me, this guy's a hell of a coach. Yeah. He has been wherever he's been. Yeah. So how is it, what was he really feeling when they dumped him off in that, he has to sit in the loading dock, stand in the loading dock in Carolina because they just fired him to get his own. And what happened in Vegas? He led them to the Stanley Cup. And look, I will be honest. I've been buddies with Pete DeBoer for a long time. So I was very, very happy to see him get the job, but in Vegas, but at the same time,
seems strange.
What happened there? It was strange. They were playing well. He had taken them to a Stanley Cup final in their first year. Yeah. Off the top of my head, that would be, and I'm sure I'm going to think of, like I said, about 30 more in the next 30 minutes. But
when we have you on again, you'll be able to give another answer to this one too.
What's that?
We'll have you on again, so you have
I'll still be thinking of that, But yeah, I mean. And what do you guys think? I mean, there's just some stuff that's gone on with Gerard Gallant that has me scratching my head, because he's a hell of a coach. And my whole thing with replacing coaches is, well, you better make sure you got something better if you let him go. And the Vegas thing, just to me, and you'd heard rumblings, but it just came out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what team in their right mind would let go of a coach that goes straight to the finals or wins a cup the next year. It just doesn't make any sense.
I have some thoughts to share off the air about Gerard Gallant and the Vegas situation in particular, but we're running out of time. Carl, you want to calculate this?
Yes, I do. So I've been calculating already a little bit. So you did have a perfect answer for the original 6-1. Also love the supporting cast reference on the bread for the breakfast sandwich. So that was really good. And it's impressive. We've had some good scores lately. That one came in at a 188 points, which is tied with Joe Beninati. So that puts you into the top 5. Yeah, I think that's 4th place overall. Pretty darn good.
Nice.
Unfortunately, just outside the podium, but top 5 is impressive.
Out of 5?
Yeah, top 5.
No, out of 5?
Oh no, out of
5 people.
Yeah, exactly.
You've beaten
still top 5.
You've beaten more people than the Maple Leafs in the playoffs in the last decade and a half. Mike
That's right. Do I get a bonus point for that?
Yeah, you're 189 now, I guess. I don't know.
Good.
Carl does the math on this. I don't. But Mike, thanks very much for joining us on Ozcaps.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Anytime. And again, thanks for having me on, guys.
And thanks everybody for listening. And we'll talk to you next time with Brian Helmer from the Hershey Bears.